there everyone, my name is Beth and I'm the head of content at Generate Leads Online. And for those of you who haven't been chased down by our managing director with a pair of sunglasses, a beanie and a business card, we are a digital marketing agency driven by data, and we provide a whole range of services which you'll find linked on our website above. Today I'm going to be going through a presentation that I delivered at the Wired for Success workshop a few days ago, and that is SEO Copywriting 101, Mastering the Art of Optimized Content. So this workshop is aimed more so towards business owners with their own website who are looking to improve it, or those who haven't done much copywriting before. If you work in digital marketing, these tips might seem a little bit simple or might be things that you already do, but if you're a business owner with a website that you're looking to improve, you're absolutely in the right place. So as I said, my name is Beth Craig and I am the head of content at Generate Leads Online. Big title there, but what does it mean? So the vast majority of my time is spent writing words for things for clients. So whether this be an email campaign, whether this be a Facebook ad, or the vast majority of my time is spent writing content for clients' websites. So this could be improving upon the content on an existing website or writing something completely from scratch. So I've written copy for loads of different situations, and throughout that time I've learned what works and what doesn't, and like to think that I've produced a nice little process for myself and my team, which I've simplified a little bit for you guys today, and I'm going to try to pass on to you. I'm also going to just generally try and impart the power of words onto you. So yeah, let's go. So our course content. Today we are going to be going over quite a few things. I believe this workshop is going to run for about an hour. We'll see if we can fit it all in. If we can't, that's all right. So we are going to be diving into copywriting, a general overview, because it wouldn't be a great idea to do a workshop on copywriting if we had no idea what it was. We're then going to move on to optimized written content, because great content can't perform online. Well, it can, but can't perform online without being optimized. We're then going to learn how to write for your audience, because not all readers are made equal. We need to ensure our tone, our wording, everything about our writing is right for our target audience. And then we move on to the big one. This is where we get our pens and paper or keyboards out and start writing our optimized web page copy. Obviously, this takes quite a long time. If I were to be writing a page for a client, it might take anything up to 2 days. So we're going to simplify this process. I'm not actually going to get you to sit there and write unless you'd like to pause this workshop and go at it. But in reality, I'm going to be taking you through all the tips and tricks you'll need to pen a top performing page. I also have a resource SEO copywriting checklist, which I'll be able to pass on to you if you email me as well. If we have time, we're going to go over UX and microcopy and dive into all the little things that make your website great. Buttons, any kind of single or small pieces of text, which you might normally ignore, but that can really increase your ranking and conversion rates. Oh, I've gone backwards. Okay. By the end, I'm hoping that you guys will know how to produce a basic piece of optimized content for a web page. Of course, that is if I've done my job right. So fingers crossed. I'm also hoping that you're going to realize the importance of content on a web page, and that it's not really just, oh, we need to fill this web page up with words and pictures. You know, they really, really do make a difference to your ranking, to your conversion rates, to everything. Words are very, very powerful. And I know I sound biased saying that as a content writer, but it's true. They are. You'll also have access to, as I mentioned, an SEO copywriting checklist for future reference. So I've put together a very basic SEO copywriting checklist with some notes on this presentation that you should be able to take home to your website as a business owner. Have a look through it, see if you're missing a few things, go through, make a few quick wins, few quick edits that will really help your rankings, and you should be able to go from there. What is copywriting anyway? Now, I'm going to need to refer to my notes for this official definition. So officially, copywriting is defined as the activity or occupation of writing the text of advertisements or publicity material. Now, sounds a bit jargony, doesn't sound incredibly relevant to websites, but it is. So let me take you through it. In everyday examples, copywriting can be the text that you've seen in a Facebook ad or a PPC ad. It's also all across social media, particularly in advertisements where people are looking to sell. It's on your website product pages. It's on your homepage. It's in your sales copy. It's in your emails. It's everywhere. And words are incredibly powerful. We use them to achieve things every day, whether that just be to communicate an idea, to express yourself, or to get to A to B. Or you can use them to sell. Really, the right combination of words can do anything, and that's what copywriting is all about. We're looking to put together the exact right combination of words to inspire our users' desired action, and that is what we're going to be trying to do on these web pages. We're trying to attract more people. We're trying to convince prospective customers that our product, service, or business is worth buying or inquiring into. So yeah, we're looking to direct our readers towards action with copywriting. So does great copy make a great website? If we write some wonderful, inspiring, on-turn content copy, does that make our webpage brilliant? Does that mean we're immediately going to rank #1 in search? Absolutely not. No. It might happen in the rare case every now and then, but really, in order to get our content out there, we need to make sure that it is optimized. This is where we get into the importance of optimization. So optimization, big scary word, right? Especially for us writers out there. We like letters, not numbers, and terrifying stuff. But really, optimization is super important for anyone with a website. Anyone with content that they're looking to get out there. Yes, we can write beautiful content that works really well, but in reality, putting it out there on the internet without optimizing it is like putting a boat out there without sails or oars. It will just be lost in the back end of Google a few pages back where no one's going to click on it unless they're really, really looking. So we absolutely want to make sure that our content is optimized. But what does that mean? It means writing for search. It means ensuring in every single possible way that our content will be visible in search. So that there are a million different things we can do with optimization, which we'll dive into. But in terms of content, it could mean choosing the right keyword, ensuring your keyword is inserted into your work naturally, but a set amount of times. It could be making your user experience more pleasant so your user stays on the page more, and that can relate to tone as well. You can be splitting your content up with optimized headers. You can be adding alt text to your images. There are a million different things you can do, but it's so important to ensure that your content is optimized in order to ensure, therefore, that it ranks as highly as possible in search or performs to its full potential. So we are going to combine our lesson in copywriting and in optimization today to produce a wonderful page, and we're going to get started essentially. So like I said, the full writing process for me actually tends to take maybe a day per page depending on how large it is. So I'm not going to sit down with you guys and write a full page, but I will be going into my process for keyword research, for heading hierarchies, how to produce a great page structure and foundation, and we'll be going through my tips and tricks for actually writing a web page as well. So today's client, since I don't want to use any of our actual clients as a presentation example, I have made up a theoretical client, which I've had a lot of fun doing. I wanted to be a florist when I was younger, so I've naturally gone with a florist here. So we are going to work together with an SME, much like most of you guys. They have a website which isn't performing quite to their full potential. We are going to resolve that for them with content. So this is Flourish by Flora, and we are going to have a look through their online content and rankings. So first of all, let's take a look at Flora's existing page content. Now, ignore the web design. I'm not a web designer and I had to make this in about one day on Wix. So we're going to ignore how awful that is, and we're going to look into the content here. Now, this is the part in the workshop where it would be interactive, and I would ask you guys, what's wrong with this site? And we would have a nice two-way conversation, but that's not going to work today. So instead, you can pause this video, maybe make some notes on what you believe isn't quite working in the content of this site. I know I haven't taught you anything yet, but sometimes this is intuitive. So I'd like to know your guesses as to what's wrong with this site, what's wrong with the content of this site, sorry. If not, I'll talk you through it. This page is not an e-commerce page because these flowers are bespoke. We just want our call to action to be an inquiry. So when I say why aren't these flowers selling, it's not because there isn't an option to buy them. It's because we're not ranking, theoretically. So I'm presuming you guys have made your guesses now. So I'm going to take you through my observations of this page step by step. So a client sends me this page and asks me, Beth, why isn't this page ranking? Why aren't people clicking on this page? Why aren't my flowers selling? What's the main issue? So I'll sit down and have a look at it. I would say, first up, where's the content? So this page, even though it's a small screenshot, it's a very small page. We've got one section here, and we've got maybe 100, 150, 200 words of content there, all under the one section, all in one kind of big block, which is an issue we'll discuss later. But you have to remember that when you're putting your content out there, you're selling to two parties. So you are trying to explain your full service and inform the reader, so your potential client, as to what you offer and convince them, which we may not be able to do in 100, 200 words, especially if they're a bride, to buy. But we're also trying to inform Google crawlers, so the little bots that crawl through and index your pages and try and figure out exactly what it's about so they can rank it in search. You're also trying to inform them as to what your page is about. And 100 to 200 words doesn't really allow you much opportunity to add your keyword naturally without it seeming like you're stuffing it in there a million times. You know, they might not have a clue as to what Flora is really offering here. We know she does wedding flowers, but what really does she do? Like, the content here does not match the imagery. Secondly, our header. Speaking of people understanding what Flora is offering, if we ignore the rest of the page and just glance at it for 2 seconds, if we cover it up and have a look at the header, make your dream wedding a reality. Without the context of anything else, what does that sound like to you? Because it sounds like a wedding planner to me. It could be a Pinterest board. It could be a wedding blog. It could be anything. What about that header says wedding flowers? Absolutely nothing. It's nice that, you know, there's a little bit of tone there outside of the rest of the content, and it's an inspiring message. Yes, your flowers could make your dream wedding a reality, but really, if we were just glancing at this, we would have no idea what was going on. So we need to ensure that our header contains the right keywords and works with the context. Speaking of headers, we should probably have a few more of them. If we're looking to add more content to the page, we want to break it up section by section and really create kind of chapters of a book almost that read in chronological order and guide us from search results to the top of the page, all the way down to our call to action. Like we said, we're looking for our content to inspire action. Speaking more on this in terms of our keywords, I know this is a bit of a stretch, but there isn't much mention of location at all. And considering that these are bespoke wedding flowers, I would imagine that Flora, you know, working with a fresh product, works within one specific area, that's most likely being Suffolk. And this isn't mentioned anywhere whatsoever. So again, this doesn't help Google's little crawl bots in placing us where we need to be in search. And it doesn't help readers either. You know, we could log into this site and believe that it's based anywhere in the UK. So we could have, you know, irrelevant inquiries from brides in Edinburgh, or we could have people from Suffolk looking into it, but, you know, needing to reach out to Flora just to clarify that she's based in Suffolk, which, you know, isn't a great extra step to add, and isn't a great first experience for that bride. Calls to action. So again, just glance at this page for 2 seconds. Imagine we have just opened up the site. Okay, here's the page. What is our action? What are we meant to do? How can we get these flowers into our wedding? You can't tell because there's just a big block of text to the right. There's make your dream wedding a reality, and there's photos. If we, dedicate our time and really look at this block of text here and get to the bottom, to make a wedding flower inquiry, please email flora@hello@flourish.com, call us, or visit us in store. Now, there are a few simple changes that we could make here to really improve it. So hello@flourish.com, we could link out to open up your inbox. Call us. There's not even a number there, so we have to scroll through the entire site to find it, or visit us in store. Where is the store location? We don't even have it listed at the bottom of the page. But what would be even better would be to add some buttons and some micro copy indicating exactly what we need to do from the second we click onto that page. So yes, we might want to read through the content that's there, but if we don't and we just want to, complete our action, our desired action, which is making an inquiry in this case, we could add a button which takes the user straight there. And I know that's half web design, half content, but it really isn't doing it for me having all of this information in this little block of text at the bottom of the page. And finally, this might be a strange one for some of you, and you might not consider it to be part of SEO copywriting, but tone is really, really important. If you think about it, Google does take into consideration how long your users spend on your web page and whether or not they bounce straight off of it if they decide that it's irrelevant. So imagine you're a bride, you're super excited about Flourish by Flora's, really unique, vibrant, fresh flowers, which are shown in these bouquets here. And then you read, we supply 100% fresh flower arrangements made on demand and delivered to your hotel or accommodation at a pre-arranged time. It's not very inspiring. It doesn't speak to what Flora is showing in the images to the left at all. That content does not say make your dream wedding a reality. It says we are doing the absolute bare minimum. And of course, as a bride who will most likely be spending a lot of money on these flowers and is very, very invested in this purchase, this tone just isn't enough and they will most likely bounce. So what we need to do is discover, Flora's brand voice and put that into action. We need to discover what her users are looking for and combine that with our brand voice to produce the best possible content that will keep our user engaged from the first word all the way up to the call to action. And that's what we're looking to do. So that does actually play into optimization a little bit. So I know that was a lot. There's probably even more that we could look into on that page. And I know that feedback seemed quite negative, but in reality, we can turn this into a positive. So if you're looking at your business's page right now and thinking, oh my God, there's no content on there. You're right, the tone doesn't really work. Oh, this is such a disaster. Don't worry. The good thing is when you've got a web page like this that is almost a blank canvas, there are so many opportunities for what we in the industry call quick wins. So there are very small edits we can make throughout the page that will really, really help your page perform almost immediately. And that should take very little effort, which is brilliant. So I am going to take you through Flora's website and teach you how to make those edits today in terms of content. So let's get started. Step one, we will be establishing a brand voice. So let's get down to business. We're going to take this page from the bottom of the pile all the way up to first in search using some relevant terms, but we have to do this while staying on brand. Like I said, tone is super important, and we don't want to make this site incredibly formal if it doesn't match with Flora's tone, and vice versa. We don't want to make it, incredibly, a little bit too friendly or too colloquial or too simple. So the first thing that I would personally do would be to send out Flora, and you can fill this in yourself as a business owner, a generic user persona questionnaire. And Flora would fill this in from the perspective of her most desired or most common customer. And using that, I'll glean some information on exactly who we're targeting with content and why. And that will really help me, decide what tone am I going to use in my content here? Who am I targeting with my content? And anything I need to know to produce the best possible to produce the best possible piece of content for our desired user. So user persona questionnaire, let me just move myself up a little bit. would most typically look something like this. It could be smaller, it could be longer, but this is really the information we're looking to glean from a user persona questionnaire. So Flora's most popular customer would normally be a woman between the ages of 22 to 40, so relatively young. They most likely work in creative industries, whether that be, as an artist, as an illustrator, and graphic design, even in digital marketing, if you can call this creative. And they are seeking a unique modern flower arrangement from a local florist, whether this be because they're sustainable or just because they're looking for a set location for their upcoming wedding. Which is great. These interests really seem to align with looking at the products that Flora produces. All of her flowers are wrapped in paper rather than cellophane. She uses local flowers. They're very unique, almost kind of on-trend flower arrangements. So the interests here seem to align really nicely. And they have found Flourish by Flora through social media or through word of mouth and not through her website, which is something that we potentially be looking to change. Social media and word of mouth are very, very powerful tools that we in no way want to neglect, but we want to bring Flora's website up to that kind of same level of impressiveness and ensure it's ranking to maybe even bring in this demographic from search results instead of from social media and through friends. So after Flora's filled in that user questionnaire for me, I am going to sit down with her and have a discovery meeting during which, we will discuss the results of this questionnaire and how Flora perceives her own brand, her brand guidelines, if she has any. I know lots of SMEs out there don't really have the time to sit down and produce a whole brand guidelines document or book. I know some of you do, but in reality, sitting down and having an honest conversation with yourself, with your colleagues, with whoever is writing your content about how you want your brand to be perceived and how that aligns with your ideal user is one of the best ways we can ensure that the content you produce or your content writer produces has the best possible tone. So in sitting down with Flora, we discovered that she wants to be perceived as young, approachable and friendly, but at the same time, very knowledgeable. And it's important to get that balance in our content. So although we want to come across as friendly and ensure our content's written in a simple manner so that it's understandable by anyone, we do also want to come across as knowledgeable, not to the point of being complex, but to the point that we're convincing our customers Flora really knows what she's doing. We also want to come across as modern, unique, fresh and on trend. So that's where, we can pair our words up with some of this really lovely imagery that Flora has to convey that, we're not a classic florist, doing these kind of catalogue order bouquets that all look the same. Instead, we're offering a beautiful bespoke product that is really with the times, gorgeous, on trend, and is offered in a local, environmentally aware context. So that is what we are looking to put forward with our writing. So here, after having this meeting, this sit down with Flora, I've discovered that this content really needs to be a balance. Ultimately, we are looking for a balance between being approachable and knowledgeable are the two things I would say. Our uniqueness, our freshness, our on-trend nature can come through half through imagery and half through content, but the main two things in my mind right now are that we need to keep ourselves as approachable but knowledgeable and really create a fine balancing act there for our clients. So step 2, after building a user persona and getting to grips with the business firsthand, I tend to do some research. After all, it would be a really stupid idea to jump into writing content for a site with having no idea about the business, industry, or products. So at this stage, I kind of combine competitor research with industry research. Being a content writer, I will sit down and read through the client's entire existing website after my meeting with them just to glean in any information I haven't from that meeting itself. As a business owner, it's a great idea to sit down and read through your own website, perhaps sit down with your colleagues, discuss any new aspects of your offering that you haven't already got across on that site, and generally make sure your mind is filled with as much information as possible about your industry, business or product. After that, of course, we can't ignore our competitors. After all, you know, those ones who are ranking #1 in search are normally doing something right. So we are going to bring up our competitors' websites and just have a look at what exactly they're doing, what they're writing about, what they're offering, what's similar to your site, what's not, perhaps where we could take some inspiration. We would never copy, but we can have a look perhaps at their layout, what products they're offering, and their tone. Especially tone is unique to every business. It can be quite inspiring to have a look at what other businesses are doing on their sites. I can also search general terms related to the industry, brand, or product in Google and just bring up every page that I think would help me get just that little bit more information in order to help me write in a very natural, organic way. And be an expert. That is what I'm looking to be. Google really values original content. So if I can gather enough information and let myself become an expert in this subject, it will really, really help in rankings. Now, I would do this in front of you all, but it would just be a few hours of me looking through Flora's webpage on Wix, which I produced. I would be looking through some local competitors and just doing some general research on floristry. But the thing is, remember, I wanted to be a florist since I was a child. Not now, obviously, it was a childhood obsession between the ages of about 3 to 7, maybe. But I have the knowledge there. I've got this. So we're going to move on to our next step. This is the big, scary step, which sometimes people are put off by, which involves a lot of research, a lot of data. It's a big task for us here at GLO, but it's one that we really dedicate ourselves to because the results really work. So this step is keyword research. Big scary word, keyword research. So before we delve into keyword research ourselves, it's probably a good idea to clarify exactly what keywords are. So a keyword is, you know, your focus term. It's one word or phrase which encapsulates everything about what you would like to, you know, put forward on your page. It describes your product, business, or service, whatever you're discussing on your webpage, in the best possible way. It's the most relevant phrase to what you're looking to discuss, and most of the time it has a high number of impressions or clicks in search as well, but we'll get into that. So we're just looking for the keyword or phrase that best describes our product, business, or service that we're going to use as kind of an anchor point for this page. So let's build a foundation for our content. So today I'm going to introduce you to 2 key tools for keyword research that will make your life just a little bit easier, and they are Google Search Console. If you have a website already, you might be familiar with this big scary world of data and numbers, but I promise you it can be very, very useful. And Mangles. So Google Search Console is a great tool for discovering keywords and phrases that your site currently ranks for. It's a wealth of information if you already have a site up and out there. It can be a great way to discover keywords and phrases, but it can also be a really good way to discover, you know, blog titles if you filter down your queries by question words, or it can be a great way to discover FAQs as well. And Mangles, it's an absolutely brilliant tool for finding new keywords related to ones you already know. So what we're going to be looking to do today is, you know, back everything up by data. We're not just going to go in with a random guess as to what our keyword should be. Instead, we're going to look at our existing site, discover exactly what we're ranking for, find a keyword in there that could work, and then we're going to insert it into Mangles to find some related keywords that could potentially perform better and narrow them down to one primary keyword that we're going to focus on for our wedding flowers page from there. So let me take you on to Google Search Console. Now, we know that Flora's website doesn't really exist. Sorry to disappoint you all, but this is entirely theoretical. Therefore, we do not have a Google Search Console page for her. Instead, I'm going to take you onto one of the best websites ever, the GLO website. A little bit of product placement there. And I'm just going to take you through very basically how Google Search Console works and how we can discover keywords that we are already ranking for. So let's go. I have opened up Google Search Console and signed in. I am going to go to these three little bars on the left hand corner. This is our main menu, and I am going to find our domain. So if you're a business owner who doesn't work in a digital marketing agency, you won't have a list this long. This is kind of all of our clients here, and I am going to find the website that I want to work on today. So generate leads online. We're then brought to this kind of dashboard overview, and we want to go into our full report here. Now, this brings up our full report for the last 3 months, but as we know, more data is better data. So we are going to click on the filters at the top and filter to the last 16 months, which is going to show us as much data as possible. Now, this looks terrifying. It's a big page filled with percentages, numbers, and graphs. Absolutely not what I want to look at today. So what we are going to do is we are going to filter by page. And let's say we want to discover what the GLO LinkedIn lead generation page is already ranking for in terms of keywords and phrases. So we are going to copy and paste the page URL into this field here. We're adding another filter up at the top here. We've still got a graph. That's all right. Don't worry. We are going to scroll down and finally we see some words. So we've got top queries here. This is the queries that we are ranking for. So first in the list, sorted by clicks, is lead generation agency. We've got LinkedIn lead generation companies, LinkedIn lead generation service, LinkedIn lead generation company, that's kind of a duplicate of the first company mentioned, LinkedIn marketing agency UK, LinkedIn outreach automation, very, very relevant keywords here. So I'm quite happy with this really. And we want to sort by clicks and not impressions because, a click through to our website indicates that, out of X number of people who have seen it, X number of people have thought that it was relevant enough to click on it. It's great that 5,286 people have seen our website listed under search for LinkedIn lead generation service, but only one person's clicked on it. So perhaps, this keyword is a little less relevant to what we're offering. So if I were to choose a primary keyword out of this list, I would go for LinkedIn lead generation agency, but that's not what we're doing. What we're doing is looking to make a note of our top keywords, and they're going to build a foundation for a little list that we're going to select from later. So whether you're more classic and want to use a physical notebook, or you want to use a Google document where you can kind of list all of your notes, you're going to take your top maybe 5 keywords from this list and list your number of clicks and impressions as well, just so you can remember how well they perform, and leave them there. And we're going to look back at them for future reference. So we're going to go back. So we're going to go back to our presentation now. And back into the world of florists and wedding flowers. So that's Google Search Console in a nutshell. You can do a million more things with it than that, I promise. But if you're looking to discover the keywords that you're already ranking for, you can do it that way, and it's brilliant. And now we are going to move on to Mangles, which I'm sorry, John, is my favorite tool for keyword research. I think very simple and intuitive. It is a paid tool, but thankfully they do a 10-day free trial, I believe, which is more than enough time to get your keyword research done and discover whether or not you like the tool enough to keep it on for more time than that and pay for it. But I would highly recommend Mangles for any kind of keyword research if you have an existing keyword that you're ready to search. So I'll take you through it live as well, but basically what we're going to do is we're going to look at our list of keywords that we derived from Google Search Console that we're already ranking for. These are just a foundation. We're not going in with some random keyword that we've just thought up. We've discovered what we are already ranking for, our relevant terms. We are going to search them into Mangles, and we are going to discover related keywords. We are just going to write our keyword under the search by keyword tab. You can also search by domain if you want to see what a specific domain is ranking for. So that's a good way to get some insight into what your competitors are up to. But for now, we're just going to do search by keyword. We're going to add our top keyword from Google Search Console. So let's just say, although we don't have access to Flora's Google Search Console, let's just say in this context that it's wedding flowers. It would most likely be something along those lines. And we're going to remember There is a location field in the box right from your search field. And if you're a local business targeting a specific geo-region, this is a very, very useful feature. There are more than 50,000 locations that you can search by here. And of course, different locations lead to different results. So if you are targeting somewhere specific, it's very, very important to note that down in your Mangles search. So Flora obviously is specifically targeting Suffolk because her product is fresh. It would be difficult to ship it. So yeah, we're looking for Suffolk here. If your business does work on a UK-wide basis or a worldwide basis, don't be afraid to use that too. If you want to search by UK, that's perfectly fine. But it can really help as a local business targeting a specific area to note down that area for Mangles. And once we search, it will bring up a page like this. So not quite as intimidating as Google Search Console, in my opinion, but there is a lot to take in here, especially if you've not used this tool before. So on the right-hand side, we've got data for the keyword we selected. So right now we're sitting on wedding flowers, but if we click, underneath on wedding bouquets, then that would work as well. So we have our top related keywords to wedding flowers listed on the left here, ordered automatically by Mangles in order of relevancy. So we have a number of search impressions under search there. So we've got 230 for wedding flowers, 110 for wedding bouquets, etc., etc. And then our other important statistic, we've got keyword difficulty on the right there, which is, a Mangles made indicator, which will let you know kind of how dominant your competitors are and how difficult the keyword is going to be to rank for. We don't tend to pay too much attention to this. If you produce a really brilliant web page, you can kind of break into those more difficult keywords. But for those of you perhaps in very, very competitive industries or who are kind of dominated by one specific company, it might be worth taking this into consideration. So again, what we're going to do is we're just going to take the raw data, take our top 5 or top 10 keywords from this list and add them to the list that we have noted down physically in our notebook or in our Google document. And we're going to go from there. Now, it is important to consider, we just saw those keywords there, that although these short impactful keywords might be really appealing with their kind of high impression numbers, you should take a minute to consider converting any of these into a long tail keyword, which is what you see on the screen here. Essentially, you're sandwiching your primary keyword in with other keywords in order to kind of niche them down and make them more relevant to your specific audience. So say wedding flowers is a very, very competitive term with kind of a huge reach and audience that we're looking to bring in, but we're also competing against a lot of people. Just by sandwiching it between bespoke and Suffolk, we're immediately narrowing our search down to people who are looking for bespoke wedding flowers in Suffolk. Therefore, we're up against less businesses potentially ranking higher, and the people who do see our site are the exact audience that we are looking for if we go for that term. With long tail keywords, we're able to attract more high quality traffic, and that's more likely to lead to conversions in the end. So that is something to consider when we look at our shortlist, whether or not we can create any long tail keywords here or whether there are any in the shortlist that we can use. So let's take a look at our Google Doc or our notebook and see what data we have got from our keyword research. So this is our final list of kind of our top performing potential keywords. Here we have wedding flowers Suffolk, wedding bouquets, bridal bouquet, and peony bouquet, which actually ranked very highly. Whoever's searching in Google in Suffolk has very good taste. I appreciate that. Gorgeous flowers. Anyway, looking at this list, this is again where this workshop would be interactive, and I would ask, which keyword should we go for? Do you want to pause and take a guess? Go ahead. It should be relatively obvious from what I've just discussed, but take a little bit of time to think. I'd personally go for my primary keyword. I'd go for wedding flowers Suffolk. It's not too niche, so I think we talked about including the word bespoke before, but I think in the context of wedding flowers, the implication most of the time is that wedding flowers are bespoke anyway, so it might be a bit of a redundant keyword there. So if we go for wedding flowers Suffolk, we are niching down that kind of highly competitive, highly searched keyword, you know, adding the context of location. It's still capturing a very wide audience. There are plenty of people looking for wedding flowers in Suffolk, and they have a strong search intent. So that would be our primary keyword. But we shouldn't just throw all the other keywords on this list out. We still want to include them on our webpage, perhaps not as commonly as our primary keyword, but it might be worth interchangeably mentioning wedding flowers and wedding bouquets. That is a service we offer, or bridal bouquet. You know, wedding flowers we're still mentioning as part of our primary keyword. And if we offer peony bouquets, it's highly searched. Why not throw that keyword in there as well? But our primary one that we are going to be mentioning most throughout our headers, throughout our body content, is wedding flowers Suffolk. Of course, once we've chosen this final keyword, it's a brilliant idea just to double check that it is the keyword that you're looking for and that the search intent is right. So if we type wedding flowers Suffolk into Google and it comes up with a bunch of job advertisement for florists, we know we're kind of in the wrong field here and that we need to step back and reconsider. But luckily I've already done the research on this and know that it works. So that is going to be our primary keyword for today. Oh, I've gone backwards again. So yeah, a circle. Wedding flowers Suffolk is going to be our primary keyword. Okay. Step 4. We've got our primary keywords. This is the foundation of our content, but now we're going to work on building the structure of our page content. This is, again, super, super important. And based on most of the competitor research I've done for most of our clients, no one knows how to do this or how important it is. So we are going to be looking at optimized headers. So headings help users and search engines understand text. They act as signposts for readers and make it easier for them to figure out what a post or page is about, and that applies to search engines and Google's little crawl bots as well. If your page is split up really nicely into nice little sections by relevant headers explaining what exactly is underneath them and what exactly the page is about, then it's going to be a lot more legible. The user experience is going to be 10 million times better, and Google will actually understand what your page is about. So in terms of your rules, you're limited to using one H1 heading on each page, and this should be your page or title, and it should always include your keyword or key phrase. After your H1, you're going to work your way down. So your H2 is kind of your primary subheading. You can even introduce an H3 to discuss a point within that subheading or multiple points within that subheading. We also have H4s and H5s, but we don't use them incredibly often unless we are going into some very, very specific information. And sometimes that's called for, sometimes it's not. We always want to work with our headers in a chronological order. We want to ensure that our page almost reads, again, like I said, like chapters of a book. And the vast majority of the time, we want to ensure that at least 50% of our headings have our keyword or some kind of variation of our keyword included. But that's not vital. As I'm going to mention later in the writing section, Google can absolutely tell when your writing is natural and when it's not. So if there's no natural opportunity to add that keyword in, and you just add it for the sake of adding it to reach that 50% figure, it's going to have more of a negative impact than, you know, having 30% of your headers include your keyword, but in a natural manner. So keep that in mind. So in order to create our optimized header, we are going to open yet another Mangles tool. I swear we're not sponsored by Mangles. I just think they're absolutely brilliant. We are going to open their SERP checker tool, which is essentially just brings up what your search results look like for specific keywords. So we are going to input our chosen keyword, which, if anyone remembers, is wedding flowers Suffolk, into the search bar for Mangles SERP checker. And we are going to open up the results, which should show, you know, your top competitors for this keyword. We're going to have a look through our results, and we're going to weed out any kind of directories, any marketplaces, so anything like eBay or Amazon, we're going to remove. And just looking at this list, I know Hitched is a wedding directory, so we are going to remove that page. We're not going to pay any attention to it because the heading hierarchy will be very different. But otherwise, we are going to open up our other top 4 competitors, and we're going to have a look at their pages. We are, again, another Mangles tool. I apologize, they're just absolutely brilliant. We're going to install the Mangles SEO extension. We're going to open it up on one of our competitors' web pages. We're going to go to the on-page SEO tab and click headings, and it will bring up something like this. And this is a very simplified outline of the headers that your competitor has used on their page. Again, we're going to go back to our notes document, whether this be a notepad where you've listed your keywords or your Google document, and we are going to copy and paste our competitors' heading hierarchies into that, just so we can observe them and see what we can take from them. And your document might end up looking like a less stylized version of this. So I've done all the work for us, and I've gone observed our competitors. We've got site 1, site 2, and site 3. And we have how they've laid out their optimized headings. So we've got site 1, you start off quite nicely with a keyword, wedding florist in Suffolk. I think that works quite well. And then we jump straight from chapter 2 to chapter 4, which is not what we would want to do. So we've got natural, personal, unique, and galleries. You know, reading through this blind without the context of the web page, this could be about anything. We could have moved on from wedding florist in Suffolk to makeup, maybe natural, personal, unique. You know, we need a lot more context here, and there was a lot of opportunity to add keywords there which were missed. And our headers aren't really in the right order here. We go from H2 to H4. Realistically, we would want our first header, wedding florist in Suffolk, to be in H1. We don't need to have it duplicated, so we would remove that H4, and perhaps our natural, personal, and unique USPs could be H2s or H3s under a more relevant heading. Again, we've jumped straight from H4 to H6, not great formatting there, so there could be a lot of improvement made to site 1. Site 2, we've got flowers for your wedding. Perhaps not the best keyword, I would need to do some research on it, but you know, it's okay. It's an H1, which is great. We've started with that, and then we've jumped to H2, brilliant, wedding flowers. Okay, great. And then we've got a lot of H3s here for your special day: January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January. I would imagine that these headers refer to seasonal flowers. But again, we want to indicate that if we're looking at this heading hierarchy, you know, this is the way Google sees your text. We're going in totally blind. We would perhaps want to put a heading on seasonal flowers and then list our months, rather than just listing them under wedding flowers and then H3 for your special day. So we start off strong, but again, some edits that could be made here. And then site 3, we've got wedding flowers, Suffolk, wedding florist, brilliant H1, really appreciate that. And then we've got H2s listing their services. So you've got ceremony flowers, bridal bouquets, reception flowers, buttonholes, brilliant. The only thing I would do differently about this would be perhaps list them as H3s under an H2 referring to our wedding flower services or something like that. We've then got wedding florist Suffolk, how we work, which is, you know, brilliant. They've got a lot of opportunity to add more keywords there to naturally discuss what they do, and it also just informs the reader, who we want to keep at the center of our mind all the time, as to their process and how it works. This is most often a really big investment for brides, so they will be curious as to the process of their florist. And then we've got an H2 at the bottom, wedding florist Suffolk, popular wedding reception venues, which is very inventive, and it's actually a great opportunity to link out to other trusted websites, which will really help their rankings. We'll discuss this later, but that's really great work on their behalf. So I would say out of our 3 competitors, site 3 is absolutely the best and the one that we would be looking to take most inspiration from. But whilst we're writing our heading hierarchy, if we're in doubt, we can always refer to kind of a generic heading hierarchy, which we can edit with our own keywords and specific information. So really, in order to create a nice chronological order which covers everything we need to cover, we would be looking to do an H1 on our service or product, an H2 with more detail on that, maybe our specialists or locations, an H2 on what exactly the service or product is, an H2 on the benefits of it, an H2 on who may require this product or service. So, you know, we could perhaps do a little section on our couples, an H2 on our process, and an H2 on why we should choose the company, an H2 on customer reviews, a contact form, and FAQs, which are an absolutely brilliant SEO tool. They're not just for your business opening hours. So I have put together, well, sourced and put together 2 headers, which I would normally ask my workshop attendees to choose between. Again, if you want to have a little look through these, pause the video and choose which one you believe we should use for our new page we're writing for Flora, then go ahead. If not, don't pause, just wait for me to explain. So we are going to go for heading B. Heading A is great, but unfortunately they have gone down the route of keyword stuffing. So, you know, it has plenty of keywords in there and the layout works. You might think it's great to add the keyword this much. I've mentioned, you know, a lot of the pages before haven't mentioned it enough, but like I said, Google is not stupid and it will detect that there is an overuse of keywords here and that this site is almost spammy. We're trying too hard to rank for this one keyword and it's not natural at all. So away with header A, and we would go with B. So we're going for an H1 on bespoke wedding flowers hand arranged in Suffolk. An H2, award-winning Suffolk wedding florists or wedding flower services. An H3, hand-tied wedding bouquets and bridal bouquets. H3, bridal posies. Sorry, an H3 on bridesmaids posies. An H3 on wedding buttonhole arrangements. An H3 on fresh bridal flower crowns. An H2 on why choose Flourish by Flora. We've got the business name mentioned in there. An H2 on hear from our happy couples. This is a much nicer way to say testimonials. An H2, contact our Suffolk wedding flowers experts. This is a much better way of saying contact us, and this is a great opportunity to get your keyword in there. And an H2 on wedding flowers FAQs. So we're going to take this forward and we are finally moving on to the step that you have all been waiting for. It's time to get your pens and paper out if you would like to do a bit of practicing, because we are going to write our page. Now, like I said, I am not going to write this page live in front of you guys. It would be too much back and forth. I would be sitting there making edits all day. It would probably take about a day, 2 days. So instead, I'm going to take you through my top tips for writing and then show you what I have produced for Flora's page. I might also set you guys a little writing task if you would like. Tips and tricks. I'm going to refer to my notes here because I want to get my numbers exactly right and ensure I'm passing on the correct information to you guys. So let's get started. Be sure to take some notes here because this is absolutely the most important part of the presentation. So, word count. Remember when we were looking back on Flora's page and I said there's absolutely not enough content here? That is most likely the case for all of you here today. We want to be aiming, and this is at the very least, for 500 words per page, excluding FAQs. Of course, you should keep in mind your customer at this point, the person reading your page, and whether they have the attention span for that. But really, there is a solution to people who want to take immediate action, and that is to add a call to action at the top of the page. If we're an emergency plumber and your reader obviously isn't going to want to read through 1,000 words of text before they know how to get in contact with you, we can add a call to action right at the top of the page and then add information for anyone else who wants to read it and just for optimization purposes. So we're looking for at least 500 words, but honestly the vast majority of my pages go up to about 800 to 1,000 and then have 1,000 words of FAQs hidden in collapsible bars at the bottom. And adding that much content gives me a huge amount of opportunities to add my keywords, multiple variations of my keyword in a natural manner, and really gets the point across. So like I said, Flourish by Flora, we're looking at people getting married here. We're looking at people who are making a huge investment in a product that they are only going to buy maybe once in their lives, maybe a few times in their lives. So we want to give them as much information as possible. They will be seeking information. We want to provide that to them. We want to ensure that they feel fully informed and ready to click on that make your consultation button at the top or bottom of the page. So we are really going to be writing as many words as possible here. Keyword density, this is an important one. So like I said, in this context, it's important to balance being natural and mentioning your keyword naturally with a good, mention frequency. So we are going to help search engines recognize the main theme of our content by using the primary keyword we chose. In this context, it is wedding flowers suffix throughout the copy. As a best practice, we should be using this term 2 to 3 times per 100 words. So this is a 2 to 3% keyword density. But we're going to try and avoid going over this limit to avoid being, perceived by Google as keyword stuffing, which would, have a negative impact on our rankings and work. We can also show search engines that our page is closely related to a topic by bookending our copy with our primary keywords. So we're going to mention it near the beginning of the page at least, and at the end of the page, kind of as an introduction and conclusion. But as much as we've got our 2 to 3% figure here, and we can go through our checklist and tick, yes, we've done 2 to 3%, and we've mentioned it at the start and at the finish. We want to keep in mind that our content should be natural. It should read, as originally and as well as possible. And if Google comes in and detects that we've just added a keyword here to hit that 2 to 3% mark, then you're going to be penalized for it, which is not what we want. We want to keep our writing as natural as possible. So it's a balancing act. We want our keyword to be featured throughout our text at kind of an ideal frequency, but at the same time, if that's going to make your content unnatural and make it less pleasant to read, then just insert it as many times as you can naturally. Phrasing. So this is an interesting one. This is separate from tone. We're just going to discuss the level of writing that occurs in your web page here. Again, we have to keep in mind our reader. So if we're writing a web page that's for a more general audience, the online rule is that we want to keep our content relatively simple and write for the level of about a 12-year-old, so 12-year-old's reading level, which seems very low. But in reality, it just means using common terminology and not too much complex industry jargon, and writing relatively short sentences and readable paragraphs. So we want to keep our sentences most of the time below 20 words in length, which can be difficult. Again, if you can't avoid that without making the page seem unnaturally short, and just try and do it as much as possible. We want to use our active voice primarily, make sure our writing is structured with appropriate paragraph breaks, and your heading hierarchies should have helped you do that already. Of course, we want to ensure that our grammar and our punctuation is correct. But again, like I said with our last point, we want to keep our reader in mind. So yes, I've said write to the reading level of a 12-year-old and make sure we don't use complex industry jargon here. But what if we're writing a really specific website for a medical research company wherein the ideal user is very highly educated and is seeking specific information? We're not necessarily going to stick to that 12th grade reading level. The text is going to be complex because that's who we're targeting. So keep that in mind. Always, always. I'm going to give you this information here in a checklist and say, aim for at least 500 words, aim for 2 to 3% keyword density. But in reality, your ideal user, your reader, their needs come above that checklist. Writing naturally comes above everything on that checklist. So if you know that your reader won't want to read through 2,000 words of text, cut it down. Make it natural. If you know that your reader is highly educated and is looking up this specific topic for a reason, match your level of writing to what they know. So, very important. Next is linking opportunities. So this is one that is often overlooked when you're actively writing your text, and is something that's done retroactively when you're going through and optimizing the site. But creating linking opportunities as you're writing your text is a really, really good way to help optimize your page. So links help search engines connect and understand online content. So what we can do, there are two options here, is we can add internal links to other pages on your site, making it easy for both people and for Google spots to navigate through your site and connect every page. So say we're speaking about bespoke wedding flowers on Flora's wedding flowers page. We could mention at the bottom, if you're looking for a pre-made flower package, please visit my shop all page. Easy, and we've got a link right there. We don't need to add it later. We also have external links, so links that link out, I've said links so many times now, that link out to other websites. We saw this in one of our heading hierarchies of our competitors who linked out to their trusted wedding venues. This is a really great thing to do. It builds the authority of both sites. The more links out you have to, relevant sites, the better. But again, keep in mind that Google is not stupid. If you just reach out to other sites who aren't even related to you asking to get a link for a link, again, you will be punished for it. Google is not dumb. It knows what you're doing. Really just play by the rules and do everything as naturally as you can. Like I said, that third heading of the competitors that we looked at mentioning their trusted wedding venues, that's a really good example of a natural backlink. And a great linking opportunity that could really help boost their rankings. And originality, I shouldn't have to tell you guys this, but just in case, please do not go and find your competitors and just copy their content. As I've said a million times before, Google is not stupid. It will recognize that duplicate content immediately, and you will shoot all the way down the rankings for having duplicate content and being, the second person to publish it. Also, as well, this is your business. What you're saying is unique. You want to portray your brand in the best way possible using your unique voice, your unique products. So we want to ensure that our content is as original and as brilliant as possible. Really, we want to go into this with the objective of writing best possible content online for your specific subject or keyword, and that's what we're going to do. So no copying. Google knows all, and also it's very morally wrong. So just don't do that. No copying. Okay, so we missed this section in the workshop. Okay, so we missed this section in the workshop since we were running a little bit over time, but I was going to get everyone to try and write a section of their own content, which now that you're sitting at home with a pause button, I believe you should be able to do. So you can do this for Flora. You can do this for your own website, which you have knowledge on. That might be a little bit easier since you've not done the research here. You can do it for anything you want. I just want you to practice doing a little bit of optimized writing. So imagine you've got your primary keyword there, and we are going to write 100 words to go under our H1. So it should be an introduction to our business, product, or service, featuring our keyword 2 to 3 times as it's 100 words. We want to ensure that it's readable, that our phrasing is right, our sentence length is right, taking into consideration everything we've just learned in the past hour and the last 10 minutes, especially with our writing tips. If you don't want to take part, that's no problem at all. But if you have, feel free to email me your content. I have my email at the end of all these slides, and I'll have a look over it for you, tell you what you've done right, perhaps tell you where you could improve, and we can go from there. So I would say this should take you guys about 10 minutes. But of course, you're at home. There is no time limit. Pause this for as long as you want and use what I've written for Flora's H1 as a little bit of inspiration. Good luck. Okay guys, that's your time up. You might have taken 10 minutes, you might have taken 2 hours, but I hope you've produced something that you are proud of and feel that you really know how to use your keyword, how to write well, and that you've written an excellent little introduction for any site that you would like. Like I said, feel free to email it over to me and I'll give you a little review of your content and tell you where you could improve, what you've done well, and yeah. So we are going to move on. This is step 6. This is the last step in our content writing process, and it is FAQs. Now, as a business owner, you might think that FAQ sections are just kind of for your existing customers, or like the name implies, frequently asked questions. So you might believe that they are just for questions regarding your business opening hours, or that they're a great place to pop in information about your shipping or shipping delays, this or that. And you'd be right, they are a great place to add that. But they're also a very overlooked tool for optimization. So I'm going to put this within the context of, a real life situation, so it makes more sense. So explaining things theoretically doesn't always work. So let's say that your car is making a rattling noise. we don't want to go straight to the garage, we're busy, so the first thing we do is Google it and try and figure out how much it's going to cost us when we fix it. So we search, why is my car making weird rattling noise? And the first thing that appears in search results is a little snippet explaining it might be your aircon. You click on it to read more information and you get a full answer as to why this rattling noise is most likely your aircon. And at the bottom, there's a call to action with an option to book free review with your local garage. You're sold, right? You didn't even know what garage you were looking for. You didn't even know what the issue was. You just, had a strong intent. The local garage answered your question and offered you an immediate solution. It's offered you value. It's offered you more value. It's a win-win. And we can do this with loads of different FAQs. Essentially, what we're going to do here is look up the most commonly asked questions in relation to our specific industry or products. In this context, it's going to be wedding flowers. This might be things like how much do wedding flowers cost? It might be what are the best flowers to use in a wedding bouquet, stuff like that. We're going to answer them in a relatively unbiased fashion. We don't, want to seem blatantly biased in search results as it might put people off clicking from us. We're just going to simply answer the question and offer a solution on our page, which would be to book a consultation to discuss more, free consultation. So we can find these FAQs by, again, we're going to go back to the big scary page. We're going to go back to Google Search Console and we are going to search by query instead of search by page. And we're going to search question words such as why, how, what, and when, and this will bring up potential FAQs that your site is already ranking for, which is great. We can also search on answerthepublic.com. This presents FAQs in a mind map format. It is a very, very good tool. So you would just be searching your keyword and it would provide a million different questions going in a million different directions. You can also use Mangles. Again, you can pop onto Keyword Finder, and when you bring up your results, instead of sorting by keywords, you can sort by questions, which again will bring up in the same manner just a big list of FAQs that you can answer. So using the knowledge you've built during this process, or just using the industry knowledge that you already have as a business owner, you would be looking to answer your FAQs with between 100 and 200 words of valuable, informative, and original content. You can go a little bit over that. 100 to 200 tends to work quite well. Remember, FAQs are SEO tools and they will appear in featured snippets if you do your job well. So they shouldn't be blatantly biased towards you. They should instead aim to effectively answer the user's query and offer a direct solution. Your FAQs will always be placed under an FAQ header. This is most often H2 at the bottom of the page and should be included wherever possible. So, for example, on service pages and home pages, but they're not typically included on content that's not really set to rank because we don't want to be drawing users into these pages. For example, the contact us page or maybe even case studies pages. We wouldn't typically add them to them. And that is us finished. So, in the background, whilst I was producing this presentation, I followed all of these steps and I put together a page for Flora. So hopefully you guys would be able to follow them and edit and put together your own page in line with these steps and improve your content. But I'm going to go through what I have produced. So going back to Flora's page before, you remember this. Now, looking back on all of the tips that we've learned, can we really see how much this page should be improved? I'm not going to say how bad it is, it's all right, but there are so many things that we could do with Flourish by Flora's wedding page in order to ensure that it ranks and that she gets as many inquiries as possible. And I've gone through and done them. So I've followed every single tip that we went through in this presentation, and it has resulted. Now, this page is so long that the screenshots have had to be spread over multiple pages, so we're going to go through it. I don't think it's going to load, but that's all right. We don't necessarily need to read the content, but we can see already that there is so much more. So we've got a little introduction. Well, before even the introduction, we've got our H1. Look at this, bespoke wedding flowers, hand arranged in Suffolk. If we don't read the rest of the content, we can't because it's pixelized. But bespoke wedding flowers, hand arranged in Suffolk, it tells us everything we need to know. It tells us the product, where, it's got a USP in there, it's got our keyword, it's brilliant, if I do say so myself. Then we're going to read through you know, we've got an introduction here, which explains everything we need to know about the product. And although you can't read it, I assure you that the tone is brilliant and that it's very on brand. And at the bottom, we even have our little buttons here, which, you know, can take us to the rest of the content. Or if our, you know, person getting married has already decided, okay, this is, you know, I want to make an inquiry, there's an option for them to do it right then and there. We have a section on our wedding flower services, again, a great keyword there, a little introduction, and then we have each of our services listed with a little bit of information underneath. Just those 3 lines of content can make such a difference in terms of inserting your keyword, you know, being able to discuss what you do naturally and informing people as to what you offer. So again, we have more services here, our wedding buttonhole arrangements and fresh bridal flower crowns, each with a call to action to make an inquiry. You know, we've got a section at the bottom here, again, a call to action, big ideas, consult our expert Suffolk florist. So another keyword there and an option to book a bespoke appointment. We've got our gallery here. Of course, we wouldn't want to miss out on this gorgeous imagery. I would never remove it for content. We've got a section on why choose Flourish by Flora. So again, more information here on natural discussion of the business, the story and the product, informing both Google and users as to why exactly this page should be ranked #1 in search for Suffolk wedding flowers. We've got some USPs at the top here. We've got some testimonials from our happy couples. And we have a call to action at the bottom there, form with the title "Contact our wedding flowers experts today." So again, a keyword in there. Now, Wix, being Wix, didn't give me the option to add FAQs at the bottom, but if we can just imagine that there is 10 little collapsible FAQs, all featuring questions that people highly interested and with a drive to purchase wedding flowers would be asking, then they're there. Just imagine it. And that is us. So we have taken Flora's webpage from 0 to hero in just a few simple steps. And you guys can absolutely do that too. So if you are ready, just follow the steps I've gone over this presentation and you will be ready to write. I've said ready way too many times. So I hope that these tips have helped you produce your own brilliant optimized content for your website. But if that all seems like too much work, I understand the feeling, but you should contact me at Generate Leads Online, and me and my brilliant content team would be happy to help you put together a million optimized web pages for your website and ensure they perform as intended. Our results look something like this for the vast majority of our sites. As you can see, we've been tracking our keywords that we've so carefully chosen here. This is one of our clients, a beauty website, and they are ranking #1 for their own name, ranking 2 for Beauty Therapies Brecon. They're ranking #1 for Khaki Clinic Brecon, which is just brilliant. You know, some really nice results, and this is just a few months after launch, I think. Maybe even 1 month after launch. We've got a fitness client here who are ranking #8 for gym in Ipswich, and that's up from 93 on their previous website. So that is a huge jump just from adding this optimized content. They're ranking, I think, #8 for gym in Ipswich. We've got #1 for CrossFit Ipswich. That's something they're super, super happy with. So some really nice gains here for keywords, and that is what we can do for you as well. So if you are interested in contacting us for our if you're interested in contacting us with regard to our SEO copywriting services, please don't hesitate to get in touch. We would love to produce some optimized pages for you. Or if you have any questions, you would like access to my SEO copywriting checklist, or even if you have some content for me to review, please don't hesitate to get in touch with me at Beth at Generate Leads Online. Thank you so much.